Hello and welcome to In Depth. I'm Teena Jha. For the first time in nearly 18 years, the Lok Sabha sat almost till midnight on the 11th of July to conclude the discussion on demands for grants for the Railway Ministry. Setting a record, the House continued with its proceedings for more than 12 hours. Over 100 members took part in the discussion that ended at 11:58 p.m., just 2 minutes before midnight. Along with the annual budget, the demand for grants for each ministry and department of the government is presented before Parliament. Taken together, both are a part of Parliament's mammoth budget exercise for India. Today's In Depth brings you highlights of the marathon discussion on the demand for grants of railways in the Lok Sabha and the way the topic of railways was dealt with in the union budget, the proposals, the focus and the big takeaways for the railways in the budget. We also look at why and how India is moving away from having a separate budget for railways to making it a part of the general budget. In the Union Budget for 2019-20, the government gave a huge push to the Indian Railways with the highest ever outlay of over 1.60 lakh crore rupees. The Finance Minister also pitched for public-private partnership model for faster development. The focus of the government has been on enhancing security, improving amenities and also modernizing railway stations. In this report, let's take a look at the proposals and the budgetary support to railways in the Union Budget 2019-20. The government gave a massive boost to India's connectivity lifeline, the Indian Railways in the Union Budget 2019-20.
Railway infrastructure would need an investment of 50 lakh crores between 2018 to 2030.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman proposed a capital expenditure of over 1.6 lakh crore rupees, the highest ever outlay for the national transporter. Last year, the outlay for railways was 1.48 lakh crore rupees, while budget allocation was 55,088 crore rupees. In the interim budget, the allocation was 1.58 lakh crore rupees. The Finance Minister pitched for a public-private partnership model to achieve faster development, adding that the railways network will require an investment of about 50 lakh crore rupees till the year 2030.
It is estimated that railway infrastructure would need an investment of 50 lakh crores between 2018 to 2030. Given that the capital expenditure outlays of railways are around 1.5 to 1.6 lakh crores per annum, completing even all sanctioned projects would take decades. It is therefore proposed to use public-private partnership to unleash faster development and completion of tracks, rolling stock manufacturing, and also delivery of passenger freight services.
Main problem with the PPP model in railways has been that there has been a lot of talk, but till recently action was very little. But now step by step action is being taken, and there is no hesitation in increasing fares also. There was a time when fares will not increase at all, not even 1 rupee increase would be allowed. So in that kind of a scenario, private participation etc. is not easy. But the situation is being more friendly, cordial for public sector participation now. That will show results in the years to come. That is the important change which is being maintained in this budget. So therefore, we will see that railways will get more investment from private sector players and more technology from private sector players, and also benefit from their logistics experience.
In the Union Budget 2019-20, 7,255 crore rupees was allocated to construct new railway lines. 2,200 crore rupees were allocated for gauge conversion, 700 crore rupees for doubling, 6,114.82 crore rupees for rolling stock and 1,750 crore rupees for signalling and telecom. The allocation for rail passenger comfort was increased by 1,000 crore rupees. It has gone up to 3,422.57 crore rupees. The government is also looking to boost suburban and metro railways along with dedicated freight corridors.
Indian Railways suburban and long-distance services do a phenomenal task in cities like Mumbai and smaller cities. Railways will be encouraged to invest more in suburban railways through special purpose vehicle structures like rapid regional transport system proposed on the Delhi Meerut route. I propose to enhance the metro railway initiatives by encouraging more PPP initiatives and ensuring completion of sanctioned works while supporting transit-oriented development to ensure commercial activity around transit hubs. We are in the process of completing the dedicated freight corridor project that will free up some of the existing railway network for passenger trains.
The budget also claimed to complete electrification of railways' broad gauge network by 2021-22. The national transporter is aiming to eliminate all 2,568 manned level crossings on golden quadrilateral and diagonal routes. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail project is slated for completion by the year 2023. Indian Railways aims to provide CCTV cameras at all stations as well as in trains to increase the safety of passengers. The Union Budget 2019 listed a scheme of integrated skill development where all 13 lakh railway employees will be given a foundational training.
One important focus in terms of infrastructure building has been the freight corridor, because freight trains occupy a lot of time and delay passenger trains, because the load that we have in the Indian Railways is huge and there is a lot of demand, the load is very high. So therefore, when passenger trains have to move, and that to move at a greater speed, one big hindrance is the movement of cargo trains, freight trains. So once the dedicated freight corridor gets completed and load shifts to that corridor, there will be more space and time available for passenger trains to run. Then Indian Railways will be able to increase capacity. Then the second part which could follow is that we can have a high speed corridor. So in that corridor, only high speed trains will utilize that corridor and run.
The Finance Minister also announced a massive program of railway station modernization to make rail travel a satisfying experience for the passengers. With inputs from Astha Kulshresht, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. On Thursday, that's the 11th of July, the Lok Sabha sat till 11:58 p.m. to conclude the discussion on demands for grants for the Railway Ministry. This was for the first time in nearly 18 years that the lower house sat for this long. Now, while the Union Budget presented by the Finance Minister is a statement of the estimated receipts as well as expenditure of the government for the year, a demand for grants is also presented to the Lok Sabha along with it. This is an annual expenditure plan presented by individual ministries for the financial year, whose proposals have to be debated and also voted upon by the members. In Thursday's debate, nearly 100 members of the Lok Sabha took part until it concluded just before midnight. During the discussion, members raised several issues related to the railways.
As Lok Sabha set a record of sorts on Thursday during the discussion on demand for grants for the railways, 99 members from various parties put forward their views in the House. Several members raised the issue of integrating rail budget with the general budget, saying it has not helped the sector.
पिछले 3 सालों से रेल और जनरल बजट को कंबाइन तरीके से पेश किया जा रहे हैं, तो इसमें मुझे कभी-कभी ये महसूस होता है, the scene and glamour which was visible in the railway budget has been lost, because insofar as railway is concerned, we used to get a little nostalgic because रेलवे के साथ हमारा संपर्क आज से नहीं बल्कि आजादी से पहले 1832 साल से रेल के साथ हमारे संपर्क जुड़ा हुआ है.
Now the whole idea of making the general budget and merge the railway budget. Now after all this, the spending and the earnings, so I want to know, by merging both these budgets, what is the increase that you have got, or what is the benefit of merging this? It's one year you've done 2%, 5%, 10%. So what was the logic, and if there was a logic, is it really implemented? Because the budgetary allocations over the last 5 years that you've been in power, I don't see any drastic improvement, or I don't see drastic change in great improvement of infrastructure of pending projects, which most of my earlier colleagues have spoken about.
During the debate, the opposition accused the government of trying to sell off railways assets instead of focusing on services.
ये सरकार की रवैया बदल चुके हैं. ये कह रहे हैं कि हमें बचने के लिए, रेलवे को बचने के लिए पीपीपी मॉडल होना चाहिए, प्राइवेटाइजेशन करना चाहिए. तो ये निजीकरण और निगमीकरण, ये दो मुद्दे को सामने रखकर रेल बचना चाहते हैं. हमारा रेल मंत्री बड़ा दिल वाले हैं, कह रहे हैं कि 50 लाख करोड़ हम खर्चा करेंगे. अच्छा है, अगर हथिया बरसेगी तो अलग बात है. नहीं, आज की रेल की स्थिति जो है, अगर ऐसा बात कहे जाए कि 50 लाख करोड़ हम मोबिलाइज करेंगे, तो मुझे लगता है अगर कोई कहे कि रात में सोने की चटाई नहीं है, तंबू की फरमाश हो रहे हैं, मुझे ऐसा ही लग रहे हैं आपकी बात से.
Why will any private player, what is the incentive for them to come and become part of this loss-making enterprise? And I would like to ask, who is going to compensate them? Whether the central government will be compensating the cost for the private player, or will the passengers have to be bearing the burden of this? And the PPP model is seen as a vehicle for development. But unfortunately, even during the last budget, a grand announcement that the PPP will generate 6 lakh crores of investment was made. But ultimately, there was no offer from private or multinationals.
In the 10 years, coming 10 years, they have to organize 5 lakh crores every year. Where they are going to get this money, 5 lakh crores every year? And who is going to come and, as Mrs. Kanimuli has told, who is going to come and invest this money in the loss-making institutions, organizations? So, this is a clear attempt to privatize railways.
वडोदरा वासी और वडोदरा के जनप्रतिनिधि के तौर पर गौरव से कह सकती हूं कि देश का सर्वप्रथम पीपीपी मॉडल से निर्माण हुआ आदर्श बस स्टेशन वडोदरा में सेवारत है. ये आदर्श बस स्टेशन का निर्माण, लोकार्पण और शिलान्यास गुजरात के तत्कालीन मुख्यमंत्री और देश के वर्तमान प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी के द्वारा हुआ था. यह आदर्श बस स्टेशन के रूप में ढांचा और सुविधा किसी एयरपोर्ट से कम नहीं है.
Concerns were also raised about the safety of railways, with members pointing out that bridges need repair, food safety and quality needs to be prioritized, and vacancies need to be filled up. BJP MP Sunil Kumar Singh said the performance of railways is much better now than under previous governments.
Under this government, they don't have much focus on railway itself. Like any other public sector undertaking, railway, like Air India, like VSNL, like all other public sector undertakings, the general feeling, at least the feeling, the impression is that railway also is losing its focus. Railway also is a losing proposition. It is a losing proposition.
और इसको एक्सीडेंट प्रूफ बना दे रेलवे डिपार्टमेंट, एक्सीडेंट न हो. हम सभी मामलों में विदेशी नकल रेल के भी मामले में कर रहे हैं, ढेर सारे मामलों में. हम सिग्नल के मामले में बाहर से टेक्नोलॉजी लाते हैं, हम कंपार्टमेंट और इंजन के मामले में, पटरियों के मामले में, कई सिस्टम के बारे में हम ले रहे हैं। तो हमको बाहर से एक चीज ये भी सीखनी चाहिए कि रेलवे पंक्चुअलिटी भी लाए।
That whether you are now well capable with the number strength of railway drivers, which is directly connected and associated with the safety and security of the common passengers, and when you are going to fulfill the vacancies which are persisting now in Indian Railways, including the gangman, which is very directly associated with the people's life.
हमने जिस तरह से रेलवे स्टेशनों पर और रेलवे के कार्यालयों में भारत की संस्कृति, भारत की सभ्यता और भारत की जो खासियत है उनको उकेरने का काम किया है, हम कह सकते हैं कि हमने पुराने नींव के आधार पर नया निर्माण किया है। हमारे एजुकेशन के सिस्टम, हमारी संस्कृति, हमारे काम करने का तरीका, इसके आधार पर हम आने वाली सदी न्यू इंडिया के रेलवे की रचना करने में सक्षम हुए।
In all projects where there is linear infrastructure and basically wildlife habitats exist, there must be an inbuilt process where mitigations can be taken.
सरकार ने इस बार के बजट में यूरोपियन सिग्नल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अपनाने का जो विचार किया है, इससे रेल यात्रा में न केवल तेजी आएगी बल्कि सुरक्षित रेल यात्रा भी होगी। विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में दुनिया के सबसे रेलवे इस दुनिया में के सबसे तेज देशों में से माना जाएगा।
The reply to the debate was given by Railway Minister Piyush Goyal. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And a day after that marathon discussion in the Lok Sabha, that's on Friday, Railway Minister Piyush Goyal replied to the discussion on the demands for grants of the railways. He strongly defended the decision to discontinue tabling a separate railway budget in Parliament, calling them political budgets. He said they were used to sell dreams of new trains and railway lines to people in order to win elections.
कहते हैं the sheen and glamour which was visible in the railway budget has been lost after the general and rail budget were combined. मैं समझता हूं आज पूरे देश ने और दुनिया ने सराहना की है कि एक राजनीतिक बजट जो सिर्फ और सिर्फ देश को और माननीय सदस्यों को गुमराह करने वाला एक बजट दिखाया जाता था। सैकड़ों ट्रेन अनाउंस होती थी, नए ट्रैक अनाउंस होते थे, इलेक्शन जीतने के हिसाब से और अपने क्षेत्र को खुश करने के हिसाब से एक ख्वाबी पुलाव दिखाने की जो कोशिश पहले की जाती थी रेलवे बजट्स में, प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने उस विषय को समाप्त करके देश हित का काम किया है, जनता के हित का काम किया है कि जनता को कोई गुमराह ना कर सके और जो काम किया जा सकता है वही विश्वास देश के समक्ष रखा जाए।
The minister also rejected the opposition's allegation that the government is working to privatize the national transporter. He asserted there is no question of privatization, but the ministry will invite investments for new technology, lines and projects in national interest. The government has taken a decision to encourage public-private partnerships to increase investments so as to improve the facilities. It has also decided to corporatize some units.
सच्चाई ये है कि हमको अगर रेलवे की सुविधाओं को बढ़ाना है, रेलवे की सुविधाओं गांव-गांव, गली, देश में पूरे चारों कोने तक पहुंचाना है, स्वाभाविक रूप से बड़े रूप में निवेश लगेगा। स्वाभाविक रूप से सभी यात्री चाहते हैं अच्छी सुगम यात्रा। हम चाहते हैं कि देश का जो फ्रेट है, माल है, वो ढोने की क्षमता बढ़े रेलवे की। इसलिए सरकार ने निर्णय लिया कि आगे चल के हम और ज्यादा पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप्स को एनकरेज करेंगे और ज्यादा रूप में जो हमारी क्षमता है उसको बढ़ाने के लिए, बाहर से निवेश लाने के लिए कुछ यूनिट्स को कॉर्पोरेटाइज करेंगे। और मैं समझता हूं जब हमारे वित्त मंत्री जी ने एक बहुत ही विश्वास के साथ इस देश के समक्ष रखा कि हम रेल और रेल से जुड़ी हुई सुविधाओं में लगभग 50 लाख करोड़ रुपए अगले 10-12 साल में निवेश करेंगे। मैं समझता हूँ ये तो हिम्मत का काम है, यही तो चाहते हैं सब मेंबर्स, इसी के लिए तो हम चुन के भेजे गए, यही काम करने के लिए तो हमारी जिम्मेदारी है।
In his hour-long speech, Piyush Goyal stressed that the Modi government had inherited a dilapidated railways but managed to turn it around in the past 5 years by laying new tracks, improving security and facilities for passengers.
ये भी सच्चाई है कि जिस प्रकार की व्यवस्था 2014 में हमें मिली थी वो कितनी झरझर थी। मैं एक ही आंकड़ा शुरू में रखना चाहूंगा जिससे सभी मेंबर्स को एक प्रकार से अनुभव होगा क्या बदलाव गत 5 वर्षों में आया है। तब 1950 से बढ़ के 2014 तक ये ट्रैक किलोमीटर बढ़कर 89,919 हुआ था, मात्र 12,000 किलोमीटर बढ़ा था, यानी 64 इयर्स में। इतनी तो मेरी आयु भी नहीं है। 64 साल में माननीय अध्यक्ष जी ट्रैक किलोमीटर 77,609 किलोमीटर से बढ़ के 89,919 किलोमीटर होता है, लगभग 12,000। 5 वर्षों में अकेले ये ट्रैक किलोमीटर बढ़ के 2019 में 1,23,236 किलोमीटर।
Ending a 92-year-old colonial tradition, the Modi government in its previous tenure merged the railway and general budgets from the year 2017-18. It also abolished classification of plan and non-plan expenditure in the budget and agreed in principle to advancing its presentation in Parliament from the last working day in February. Let's get you some interesting details and facts on the railways budget and how the Modi government set a new trend.
Former Finance Minister Arun Jaitley became the first one to present a combined union budget 2017. The decision to merge the railway and union budgets was based on committee recommendations headed by Niti Aayog member Vivek Debroy. The tradition of a separate railway budget was started by the British in 1924. It was decided by a 10-member Ackworth committee headed by British economist William Mitchell Ackworth. At that time, the railway budget was 84% of the general budget, as railway revenue was the only major contributor to the nation's GDP. The first railway budget for independent India was presented by India's first finance minister, Sir R.K. Shanmugam Shetty, on November 26, 1947. C.D. Deshmukh presented the first budget in the first elected parliament. Budget papers were prepared in Hindi from 1955 to 56. There are many interesting facts about the erstwhile Union Railway budget. It was presented by the Union Railway Minister annually as a money bill in the Lok Sabha. Its first ever live telecast took place on 24th March 1994. Though railway budget was not mentioned in the constitution, it was introduced and passed in the Lok Sabha under Articles 112 and 204 of the constitution. The Indian Railways is one of the largest public sector undertakings in India. It employs around 1.36 million people. The first passenger train ran on 16th April 1853 between Bombay and Thane, while the Centre for Railway Information Systems, located in Chanakyapuri in New Delhi, introduced computer reservation system in July 1986. Lalu Prasad Yadav has the record of presenting railway budget for 6 years in a row. In 2002, Mamata Banerjee became the first woman minister to present the railway budget. In 2014, Railway Minister D.V. Sadanand Gowda presented the first railway budget under the NDA government headed by Narendra Modi. Every day, Indian Railways carries over 2.5 crore passengers at economical fares. But the increasing number of passengers is affecting the quality of services. Over 27% of railway earnings are from passenger traffic and 76% from long-distance express trains. Ordinary passenger trains and suburban services contribute less than 7%. In freight, about 88% of the revenue is from select areas and 10% from general merchandise. With the inclusion of the railway in the general budget, the budget size of railways increased to 1.31 lakh crore rupees in 2017-18. The Modi government took a big decision to make a national rail security fund of 1 lakh crore rupees and also took several new initiatives. It was decided that the merger of the railway budget and the union budget would not lessen the financial and other autonomy of the railways and instead help in streamlining the work of the railways. After the government's new initiatives, the railways got exemption from paying 10,000 crore dividend annually to the treasury. This amount is being spent on the developmental works, modernization signalling system, anti-collision devices, train protection warning system, train management system are being given high priority with better passenger services and catering. Cleanliness in stations and trains and hygiene is also being emphasized upon. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, if you like today's edition of In Depth, we have more episodes that would be of interest to you. In the past episodes, we have talked about some special trains and future transport options in the country. You can view our previous episodes on India's engineless Train 18 and also port taxis. Please search for these programs using these very names, but remember to prefix all your searches with RSTV In Depth. So that's it from us in today's edition of In Depth. We'll be back same time tomorrow with an analysis on a different subject. You can also watch our program online on YouTube and Twitter on the link given below. You can also send your feedback and suggestions about our program. Take care and see you again tomorrow.